we're going to explore the topic of generics. Generics are, well, very complicated, but we've used them before. For example, we've seen this before in previous examples. So what's going on here? Well, we have a list, which is a class, and that class is a generic class, and we have to give it a type. Then we give it a name, we create it, and we of course have to follow the same pattern. Let's print this out. Now, we could take that same example, and instead, let's flip it around this way. And you can see how the same code can run either numbers or strings. That's called a generic. Basically, the code can handle a different type depending on what you want it to do. It's actually very handy here, and we're going to write a couple functions that use generics. So, simple example. Notice how we have var A, var B. Var just means some sort of generic object. Let's switch those around to T. Now why are we using T? Because that is the generic that we've given it. It's just simply a number that represents a type. I've used T for shorthand for type. So we have a type, and a type. Now, if we had a different letter, for example, if we did K, notice how suddenly we have a problem. Undefined class T. We'd have to switch these to K. I'm going to switch this back to T. That way it works. Now, let's test this out. Run this. See how it says 3. So it worked. One thing that we did not do was actually define the type, which we should have done, but we didn't have to because Dart's smart enough to look at the parameters and determine, hey, they're all integers, therefore, let's just make the type int. Same results. Let's actually copy this, and let's paste this and try this a couple different times. Notice how the operator plus isn't defined for class object. That's going to be an issue. But it still runs. Now what does that mean? Operator plus isn't defined for class object. The operator, or the plus sign, needs to be overridden. And we can do that in more advanced tutorials, but just know that not all data types can be combined. For example, if we were to make a custom cat class, how would you combine those two? Next, let's make a little more complex. What we want to do here is we want to say void add numbers. Notice how in this implementation, we don't have the issue with the plus operator. And that's because we're extending the number class. What we're saying here is add nums, T is going to be any class that extends the number class. This would include integers and doubles. So let's use our add nums, and let's actually just copy this and paste it. When we go to use this, we can see that integers work because it extends num, doubles work because it extends num. Strings, however, string does not extend num, so it will not work. However, you can see the code still runs just fine. That's one of the inherent downfalls of generic programming, is the complexity goes through the roof, but so does the functionality, and you can have problems. Here you can see the IDE thinks there's going to be a problem, and we could potentially crash this program. However, it still works as expected.